Here we go.
Yes, sir. We are live, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Harvinder Singh, a professor in marketing at IMT Ghaziabad, and it is my pleasure to interact with you. The format of interaction is a panel discussion in which the panel of faculty members will talk about a very relevant theme for business and society in general. This is digital transformation of business and emerging agenda. Now, a topic of such great significance actually needs a very strong panel, people who can really add value to this topic. And we indeed have a panel of very strong panel with people with great credentials. We have with us Dr. Amit Sareen. He is Dean Academics at IMT Ghaziabad and professor in the area of strategy. Dr. Sareen comes with a very strong background of industry. He has spent more than 26 years in industry. He has worked in India and in the US. The leading corporates he worked with include companies like TCS and Aircel. He's an engineer by qualification from IIT Roorkee, followed by an MBA from FMS Delhi and a PhD. So he is basically a wonderful combination of industry experience and academia. The next speaker on panel is Professor A.K. Krishnamurthy, popularly known as AK. So AK has more than 35 years of experience. In fact, in terms of industry experience, he is on top. And the experience is really rich. So he has worked across multiple continents. He's basically a banker, right? More than 35 years in banking and finance in Asia, Europe, Middle East. And he has worked with big names like HSBC, Chase Manhattan, Bankers Trust. And of course, he's an alum of IIM Ahmedabad, which is India's leading business school. And last but not the least is a dear friend of mine, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Singh, a senior faculty in the area of marketing. He's a professor in marketing and he's the Associate Dean of Research. He also comes with more than 25 years of experience in the industry. He has been a part of the Times Group for a long time. And he's a very popular teacher in sales management, B2B marketing, and he is a very well-published researcher. It's my pleasure to host all of you. Welcome to this panel, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when the theme was suggested to me, I was really intrigued, something very relevant. We all understand that, I mean, as Heraclitus said, change is the only constant. I mean, the statement came 2,500 years back in Greece. If it was relevant 2,500 years back, today we are actually passing through a phase where changes are so fast, so rapid. Multiple dimensions of change. But if we talk about one aspect of change that has touched everyone's life, that is digitalization. I mean, all of us have a digital gadget called a smartphone in our homes, in our hands. We are right now interacting through a digital platform. So the consumers that businesses work for are undergoing a transition. I was going through a report which talked about the number of mobile phones on this planet being more than the number of people on this planet, or more than half the population of the world having access to internet. Now, people might wonder, the audience might wonder, it's all about developed world, fine. Maybe developed world has changed it, has influenced all these numbers. But looking at the Indian data, we see that the number of mobile phones in India is close to 81% of Indian population. 114 crore handsets available in India. Nearly half the population of India has access to internet. I mean, estimates vary. Some people call it 47%. Some studies quote as 54%. And most of these people actually access internet with the help of a gadget called smartphone. And interestingly, an average Indian is spending more than 5 hours per day on smartphone. So now we understand to what extent this gadget, this tool, and this technology will have on us. And businesses, I mean, normally, whatever happens to consumers gets reflected in the way businesses operate. In some cases, businesses follow the change in consumers. In some cases, they lead the change. And in some cases, consumers and businesses undergo the change simultaneously. But whatever the theme is, the point is, we realize that businesses are undergoing the impact of multiple forces and digital transformation being one of them. So with this understanding, I will request the panel to delve deeper into it. In fact, I'll invite Dr. Rakesh Singh to speak first on this, because at times the audience and people are not very clear about the meaning, nature, and scope of digital transformation. So over to you, Dr. Singh.
Thank you, Dr. Harvinder, and such a nice topic really to speak on this morning. And a very good morning to all the viewers here who have joined us live on this session. And often, I say this to students, our students at IIMT Ghaziabad, that this is possibly one of the best time to be a business student. It's so very exciting, and so much of change that is being shaped or driven by technology. Now, when I say that, there is also a kind of a qualifier to it, or a word of caution to it, because there are a lot of concepts that are used very loosely, and people talk about certain things. Say, for example, even the topic that we're talking today, digital transformation. So what exactly it means? Should we call anything and everything that moves with digital technology as digital transformation, or it is something else, right? So in this part of the discussion, one of the objectives that I want to achieve is to sort of clarify or lay it bare in front of all of you, so that we have a better sense as for what exactly is what about digitization, terms that people use in industry as well as in academia. What about digitalization? And then what exactly is digital transformation of business? So that is how I'm going to take to this discussion forward. So the first thing is about, we all know this, it's a cliched thing. We all know, people keep talking about data. So the first thing first, data is the fundamental thing. This is where everything starts building up, and that is where digitization come into play. When we use this term, digitization, it's basically about how efficiently we collect, organize, analyze data. And that data could be from any. So say, for example, for a production person, the data could be coming from machine. For marketing people, the data could be coming from consumers, or various e-commerce websites where people are buying. So we could be getting data on consumer preferences and stuff like that. Though that data that we bring in digital form, or we call it digitization, is about that how do we therefore then make that data understanding more efficient. So running customer analytics, mining customer insights, or simply learning about the markets, that is all good function of a digitization process. So if we do not have digitization, then possibly we will not be able to do any of this. So in a way, you could say that this is a very good starting point. When we think about digital transformation, digitization is a good starting point because it basically makes you efficient, the way you handle your data to the best of your advantage. Now, a good example of digitization in any organization, I'm sure most of you are familiar with that, is a CRM system. So for example, what does CRM does? It captures all the information for the customers who are getting into the funnel. And using that information, it has the capability of generating reports, giving you insights and all of that. So CRM systems is typically in a firm. So if a firm says that they have just implemented a CRM system, my idea would be that, oh, the firm has actually taken the first step towards digitalization. I'll come to transformation later. So now See, let's look at a very simple example of the CRM system. So where we have all the organized customer data, which we can use for churning out more information about our prospects, about our customers whom we can sell more number of products, different kind of products, right? So those of you who are familiar with cross-selling and upselling kind of thing. Now, once you have this digitization process in place, there has to be some element of digital technology application. And this is where now, because all of us are familiar about it. So say, for example, just think about using some of these artificial intelligence tools. And what are those? Basically learning tools, supervised or unsupervised, which will allow a firm to have some level of automation. So let's say within a marketing process, there could be certain processes which could be automated. You must have seen as consumers going to a bank website or when you are on internet banking. So many of those chatbots that come up is a good combination of a CRM system with a artificial intelligence tool being used. So what I'm basically telling you here is that digitization, once gets combined with a technology like artificial intelligence, which is a learning tool that helps you, digitalize some of your processes. Now, this digitalization, therefore, is a combination of digitization plus something to do with artificial intelligence. And that gives you an ability, and where one could say, for example, many companies would claim that my customer experience is completely digitalized. Now, one of the favorite example of mine is just think about 5 years ago, how car companies used to show their car to customers. And today, when you go to car showrooms, the way they display the car to you, they are using a big digital board through which you can really get minute details right inside the engine or the exteriors, the minute details of the interiors and things like that. Now, this digitalization is essentially aimed at how do I improve my customer service? How do I, improve my customer experience? So the whole idea is that the customer satisfaction should be enhanced. Most of the time, digitalization is aimed towards that we are interested in how best we can serve our customers, right? We keep on thinking about what are the new opportunities which are novel, which are, in a way gives us a better bandwidth to serve our customers in a way that they will make very good recommendations for us. And like this morning, I was reading in the newspaper today, RBI has mandated that customers do not need to go to bank to update their KYC detail. Now, why is this mandate coming? Is basically because the banks have already moved on to that digitalization platform. They already have the capability, and many of you would have experienced that when you wanted to change your address or any other detail, you didn't have to go to bank branch because the bank has that capability to match up your revised data with the proof that you have submitted. And through an AI tool, the tool can suggest that this information is matching with the Aadhaar detail or a voter ID or whatever document that you have given, and they would accept the change in address, right? So that is the whole aim of digitalization. Now, as I said, digitization is a precondition for digitalization. Similarly, digitalization becomes a precondition for digital transformation. But here is the big change, and I want to underline this very important difference. The moment we start thinking about digital transformation of business, it is no longer only about one function. So the first thing first, it's a firm-wide, enterprise-wide transformation. this is aimed towards that how do we deploy the digital technology to all the company assets which are available to the firm, right? In a way that can either revise their business model or sometimes even create a new business model. Now, what do we mean by business model here? Essentially, a new business value proposition that in what possible ways a firm can actually make use of the digital assets or digitalization capability applied onto their assets, and then possibly come up with a new value proposition, which is in terms of customers, it means newer benefits for the customers. Now, this could be either introducing a new product or a new service or a combination of both, right? So we will always focus on this part, that digital transformation would mean that there is something going to happen in terms of new opportunities, in terms of opportunities which are going to give us increased revenue. And why will I get increased revenue? Why will I get more money? Because I have improved my value proposition. Because only if my value proposition is improved, customers are willing to pay me more money, right? That's the whole idea. And that is where, so digital transformation is just not about applying some digital technology onto a certain set of processes. Those application or whatever processes or revision of a business model that we are doing, that must lead to enhanced revenue, that must lead to enhanced customer value, right? Both are kind of connected. So in a way, when we are thinking about digital transformation, that becomes a firm-wide strategy. It is about understanding that what kind of digital assets you need to do that, where you can apply it. Are you going to apply only in the way you are looking at products and services that your firm has, or you are going to look at through across the value chain that you are having, right? Now, that is a strategic component of digital transformation, which I'm sure my colleagues are going to talk about. Thank you, Harvinder. We can, yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. You did a very useful thing. You clarified the difference between digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. And now audience can understand the linkage between these three.
Absolutely.
How to start from digitization and, of course, arrive at digital transformation. Going to Professor Krishnamurthy. Professor, how you see digital transformation as it's being discussed in this context or in business?
Hi, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. No, I couldn't agree more with Professor Rakesh. We were joking yesterday that when people used to write on a notepad and then they bought their first computer, and then they used to write on Word, and they used to write exactly the same things, and then they said, oh, we have computerized. Right now, clearly you have not computerized, you just replicated what you're doing before in a different medium, and you're not really leveraged off that medium. So digital transformation, I think the key messaging here really is that transformation is a big word. I mean, you don't just say something is transformed because there are some incremental changes, or there is some formatting changes, or there is some small tweaks. You only say something is transformed when fundamentally the core way you carry out your processes or you generate a value proposition is changed. I mean, transformation always implies fundamental identity changing kind of change. And therefore, while every organization seems to very quickly talk about, oh, we are going through a digital transformation, very often those are not really transformations. A great example in my own industry experience would be then people are all very fond of talking about, oh, we are migrating to the cloud. Right? Now, yeah, that sounds great, but that is not digital transformation if you are taking exactly the same processes that you were doing before, and instead of storing the data on a server, you just store it on a cloud. Right? I mean, it makes no difference to the end user. The end user doesn't actually care or see where the data is. and the process is quite transparent to the customer. There is no value proposition. There is no real benefit or no real change except a process improvement. I mean, you might as well say, I'm going through a transformation by moving my office from one street to another street, right? What really is transformation in that context is where some of the financial firms have said, okay, forget about how did I used to do things before. Given that I have phenomenally different analytic capabilities and instant access to data across my whole network, et cetera, from the cloud, which I did not have before, how can I actually do things completely differently and completely better in a way that will enhance my core business, right? And those are the ones who are truly digitally transforming. I mean, the others are just like Professor Rakesh said, I mean, they're mixing up digitization and digitalization as if it is some kind of automatic transformational initiative. And I guess the other thing that follows from that, therefore, is that while with all new technology, it is very easy to be kind of seduced by the glamour of the technology, we do need to remember that technology exists to serve businesses, right? And therefore, digital transformation really should be led front and center by the business. It shouldn't be led by IT. It shouldn't be led by tech people. It shouldn't be led by consultants. And because these are just the people who are the enablers. They are not the people who are driving the business. So again, quite often, as soon as we get into the emerging technologies, you end up with one of two kinds of people. You have young, very enthusiastic people who are seduced by the technology side. And then you have a whole bunch of senior people for whom technology is not a natural home. And therefore, they kind of feel uncomfortable because they don't fully understand. And therefore, they tend to kind of distance themselves or hand it off to a consultant or hand it off to an in-house IT team, and they don't really get involved. Whereas the true transformation happens when the business heads, the senior business heads, start understanding and asking the question, what problem does it solve for me? Not how do you solve it? How do you solve it is not really the important thing. Well, what does this do for me that I couldn't do before? And as an example, in banking, sure. You could do risk management before computers came along. You made an assessment, you called it experience, you called it skills, and then you started getting some data and you put some data on spreadsheets and you did some analysis. But at the end of the day, what did digital transformation mean for risk management? Digital transformation for risk management was when you actually started learning, seeing patterns, getting predictive analytics, understanding that when a customer canceled his cable subscription, that was a good predictor of the fact that he or she was going to go into financial distress, or the fact that he started shopping at a different supermarket, which was less expensive from what he used to shop at, or he used to go out to eat maybe once a month instead of once a week. Those were predictors. So that is when you start using that to actually improve your risk management, to reach out to customers and to actually help them before they fall into financial distress. That is transformation. So to me, a change in technology without a relevant change for the better for all stakeholders, including the end user, is not really transformational. It's not even really meaningful. Right? I mean, we don't really have and so I think digital transformation, we need to focus much more on the transformational element than on the digital element. The digital is just a tool. It's just a means to an end.
Wonderful. Very well said, Professor Krishnamurthy. Thank you very much for highlighting a few very important points. For example, the real meaning of transformation. So you highlighted that transformation does not mean incremental change. It means radical changes. Issue number 2, who should lead transformation? It's not the tech people at the back end. It's the people who run business. But the guiding principle is, what does this transformation do for me? Fine. How does it add value to us as business? Wonderful. Very well said. Well, two very meaningful presentations. I think now the audience and the group is much more informed about the real implications of digital transformation. And now we go to Dr. Sareen. Dr. Sareen, we would want to have your words on the real implications of digital transformation for a
Yeah.
business.
Thank you, Professor Harvinder, for organizing this great talk. It's very recharging in the morning. And I, in fact, quite agree with my earlier speakers that digital transformation is not just digitizing your existing business activities, because many people, I think, nowadays are thinking that, yes, if you digitize certain components of your businesses, and that may, and of course, there is a glamour of technology, and that may attract you, and then you may say, okay, we are digital or we are transformed. In TCS once we were talking to Wall Street client, and we were asking what we were implementing some IT solutions for them, but we asked them that what is this a part of, and then he explained to us that there is an entire change program going on, and the business is transforming from one state to another. And within that transformation, this particular IT project is fitting in. It's not on its own, it's a part of a large change program. And I would like to give, since the students are there, I'd like to give a very nice example which you can correlate. And in fact, I was in that particular project, like the Passport Seva project, So the TCS implemented this solution. And this is a very nice way, right? At that time, possibly web and apps and all those technologies were not there. So still you can see how an entire business transformed, even if you consider it as a business. For TCS, it was a part of its business. So, and the entire revenue model also was different. So the way the passport office used to operate was completely different. And then when TCS took it over and looked at their processes, so they obviously there was a business process reengineering, which was a fashionable term earlier. So the entire business processes were changed. There was stakeholder management because the existing team of the Ministry of External Affairs also had to be engaged in. And there was change management because the business was transforming from one state to another state. And once a business transforms, there are many stakeholders. The customers are there, the employees are there, the promoters or whoever is managing the show is there, and they have their own apprehensions. And those are also equally a part of the change management program. So if you look at this particular project, the Passport Seva project, so it is not just a digitization. The entire way the way the process was handled, the way it is done was entirely transformed. And you can see now there are two parts of it. There's a front end, which is basically managed entirely by the TCS. And there's a backend, which is the final approving part. And the entire process is digitized, but they didn't copy the existing model. So there was a completely new business model. And then the digital elements helped in managing the entire process. So, and this was a successful business model. One more thing you can see is, particularly in the case of Passport Seva, is that look at the revenue model. Here, the revenue model has also changed. So the way TCS charged the client was completely different, because here it was basically you take the business, you run the business, you operate the business, and a part of the revenue generated through the business is your revenue. It is not the traditional IT consultant model, and that was entirely the way this was there. So, that's something, that's an excellent way to look at the entire business transformation which has happened. Another case I like to say is look at the National Stock Exchange. Nowadays, we look at National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange, and we see, seamlessly go through the trading part. But if you look, I don't know whether you even know it, or you someone can tell you that there was a time when the shares used to come by post, by registered post, the physical part, and you used to always pray it will reach you, whatever you have bought. And that is the time when the National Stock Exchange, this was, I think, possibly 30 years back, they approached TCS. So, and they said, this is a building, okay, and you take over this building. This is an empty space. You put up servers here. You put up the entire technology here. It's yours to make it, to operate it, to deliver it, and then we pay you as a complete system integration project. And the entire designing, entire part was done by TCS. It transformed the entire landscape of the Indian, the stock market, the way it was. And then, of course, BSE, which was still physical at that time, was forced to change because National Stock Exchange already had come up with this model. So this is an entire business transformation. So just by putting some websites or some apps which are glamorous, or putting some things, is not really a business transformation. I'll take another case. Take the case of New York Times. When New York Times is, of course, one of the most popular papers, and has been there for the last, I think, 100 years. When they started going digital, they decided, or they very prudently decided, that the way going digital is not just putting the physical paper on a website, because that's not the way it is. So the entire organization will be different, because the entire customers will be different, because they'll be now global. And the way they reach, the subscription methods will be different. The revenue model will be different. The way you analyze, a lot of data will be generated. You will immediately get to know which articles are popular, which are not. How will you put them into the listing? So the entire model is different. So and it has been one of the most successful digital models, subscription-based models, which is there, and because they didn't just simply put a physical paper in a website, correct? So that is there. Look at the case of in India. If you look at now, if I connect with you with the recent things like of course, the Unified Payment Interface, UPI is sort of a rock star. We look at United States, we look at so many places for innovation, but UPI is a rock star innovation by India. We all should be proud of it. But even if you look at UPI, the huge success of UPI, if you carefully look, it's basically built on the backbone of the banking system. And that entire backbone of the banking system, the entire computerization, has happened over the last 30 years. The entire banks have also transformed, which we now feel as if it was always there, but that's not the case. Last 30 years, most of the Indian banks they couldn't survive. So they have digitized completely. They have a core banking system. Again, many of the Indian companies helped in that. And then now the app-based UPI is sort of piggybacking on that huge backbone which has been built over the last 30 years. So sometimes, digital transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires sometimes a lot of pain. It requires a lot of thinking. And as said by the speakers, it requires sort of a business kind of push. It sometimes requires different revenue models also, a different business model also. So those are the real digital transformations. And we can see it across the globe, but in India also we can see so many examples of these. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Sarin. There couldn't have been a better conclusion to the first round of inputs, because whatever was explained in terms of concept by Dr. Rakesh Singh and AK, you actually illustrated that using 4 examples: TCS, Passport Seva Kendra, National Stock Exchange, New York Times, and UPI. And through your content, it emerged that the organizations need to have a multi-stakeholder perspective for business digital transformation, and they need to have a change management approach actually. So it can't be a single person's individual's decisions thinking of taking one decision at one point in time. Wonderful, very well said. Now, after having understood the background of digital transformation and its applications in business, I think it's important for us to now talk about something which relates digital transformation to academics and industry, the linkage part. So there are two issues broadly. Number one, when we talk about specific industry sectors or domains, how does digital transformation change these? But equally important is because we train students, we prepare future managers who will be initiating those digital transformation or being a part of it. How are we incorporating that sense in our curriculum? And following the same sequence, I'll start with Dr. Rakesh Singh. Dr. Singh, you come from the area of marketing. So please tell us something about marketing, digital transformation in marketing, and of course, the marketing area in IMT as it handles it.
Yeah, thank you. Like I was mentioning this, my assertion to students that it's a most interesting time to be joining new organizations, because it's exciting times in the sense that most of the organizations are at some stage of their digital transformational journey. So whether they are at digitization or they are using some kind of AI tools. And I also tell them that why it is important for them to really be the change agent in those organizations, because organizations are going to look at their contribution in a much greater way. Now, one is that what the companies are going to expect from our students, and the second part, which is the most important part, that therefore, how do we prepare our students accordingly? And as Dr. Harvinder said, that of course, we need to incorporate all of that into our different courses that makes the whole curriculum, right? So I'll just kind of explain this part by focusing on the marketing courses, marketing domain. Now, let's first consider what exactly is, the drivers of this digital transformation, why we are even talking about it. So, couple of things that is essential for students to understand before they actually start worrying about how they are going to contribute is to understand what is driving this. So in various marketing courses, the focus would possibly be there on making the students appreciate that the changes are coming from different sources. One, of course, is the emergence of digital technology. So there are newer digital technologies that are coming in and they are finding applications. So that is one part of it. So clearly, in many of the courses, students are either given projects to work on those technology, they try and find out how it is being used in industry, right? What is the impact it is creating? The second part is that because of these new digital technologies and its application in different business model, what kind of competition coming in to rather a legacy firm vis-a-vis a new firm or a new age firm, or maybe you want to call it a startup or so. So where is this digital competition coming from? So a good understanding about competition within the perspective of how digital technology is creating new form of competition. And remember, here we are talking not just about new form of competition in terms of newer companies, but also within the companies, newer kind of offerings that are coming in, right? So that is the second part of it. And third, of course, everything is kind of anchored on that is how consumer behavior is changing or shifting in the digitalized world. So what is the digital consumption behavior? Now, these, I think, there are three very, very fundamental things that students get exposure to, and that sets them thinking that how overall, marketing function is kind of getting impacted in a positive sense, of course, right? So that is the marketing part of it. But then there are other aspects of business as well. So say, for example, if you think for a moment that After all, an MBA program is not just about function, it's about the overall functioning of the firm. And even if you are looking at just marketing function, what about the organizational structure within marketing or within the sales function? So how do you have a people strategy around the digital transformative journey of the organization? What kind of organization structure that you could be thinking about? What kind of digital resources that you are going to deploy by procurement or by creating it on-house through your IT team, right? So all that become part of various courses that are offered by other functional domains. Also, to look at digital transformation from the perspective of, we talked about that it should give enhanced value. And one of the enhanced customer value could also be determined by that what kind of goals that a firm is pursuing. So say, for example, there are many firms now, they are using digital transformation to also set their ESG goals. They are linking it. And that is finding a lot of favor among their customers. That is enhancing their customer value because customers think that this company is a responsible business, right? So even say a couple of courses about business environment or hands-on experience on sustainability of business, right? So those kind of things I strongly feel gives student a 360-degree view or a well-rounded perspective onto how they go to organizations in whichever function they choose, and they are in a position to apply these concepts in a holistic manner. Because the fact remains that all organizations that our students are going to join, they are at some stage of digital transformation. They could be either just at a digitization or digitalization stage, or they could be thinking. I'll tell you, give you an example. This year only, there were students who were working with, I'm not naming the organization, but a very legacy firm. And the project that they were working on was basically transforming the channel of that business using digital technologies. That was a great example, and our interns, first year students who go for summer internship, they were interested with that job. Now, they were able to do this because they had this understanding that how the same customer who is buying things, going to a shop, or who is going to buy something, going to a platform, what kind of changes that is going to happen, and therefore the approach to reaching out to the customer, the approach to communicate to the customer, the approach to presenting the best benefits are going to be different, right? So there could be different stages of transformation that the companies could be, and in that sense, the students will be, are much better placed to contribute there. I just gave you an example of summer internship. There will be many such projects or students who are kind of part of such a change team working in their respective organizations.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. I really I'm sure the students will understand the relevance of digital competition and multifunctional approach when it comes to digital transformation.
Absolutely.
And you pointed out linking ESG framework with digital transformation. And then if I recall my experience with students and our discussions in the faculty body, I think we have been able to plug in many of these links through our course curriculum. Absolutely. Very well said. Now I invite Professor Krishnamurthy. Let me add that Professor Krishnamurthy is also the chairperson of PGDM program in banking and financial services. So I think he's in a wonderful position, enviable position to tell us how digital transformation is being discussed when it comes to finance and banking and financial services curriculum.
Yeah,
Professor.
thanks. No, it's actually like we were saying that it's a great time to be a business student. I also think it's a great time to be involved in banking because it's very rare. I mean, you can normally have new industries which come up and they are very exciting and they're very volatile and people are inventing business models, but they don't really matter in some ways because they are new and they're small and they're serving a particular need. Or you have very important industries like utilities, like banking, which have been there for a long, long time and which are very stable, but they're quite boring. To have a situation where you have an incredibly important, very large, systemically critical industry, which is at the same time going through transformational change, is a very rare opportunity. And that means that, people are sitting here, not just working in banking and financial services, they're actually reimagining banking and financial services. Right. I mean, from very fundamental questions like, what is the point of money and, should we have fiat money or should we have cryptocurrency? Right. From those kinds of questions all the way through to what is a bank, and is a bank a branch or is a bank wherever I am and it's held in my hand in a smart device? So, to go back to an earlier point that was made, consumer expectations are phenomenally different. I mean, in my generation and certainly in my parents' generation, when I was studying at IIM Ahmedabad, my father used to send me a draft every month for paying the mess bill, and I used to have to take it to the SBI extension counter and wait in line and convert that into money and pay the mess bill with cash. And I mean, I think none of those words even make sense to any of the students on this call. Right? If you tell them draft and cash and check and branch, it's like, I want to make a payment today. It literally takes me less than 20 seconds. Right? And that's what they expect. So now nobody is going to go back. And one of the interesting things we found, for instance, when I was at HSBC and we were benchmarking our website and app, and we realized that the benchmark that customers have is Netflix. It's not another bank. They want it to be as slick as Netflix. They want it to be as predictive and as responsive and as focused as Netflix, right? So what we're trying to do in this program is therefore a few things. One is we are trying, because digital and data and disruption and transformation is so embedded into the business, we are not teaching it as a separate course. While we have to teach some techniques as a separate course, what we are trying to do is to integrate these aspects into every course. So as an example, if you're going to teach a course on risk management, then we want to say how risk management is being transformed by use of data. If you want to teach marketing or financial services, we want to say, well, how is marketing changed because of the way we now use customer scoring and predictive analytics and responsive apps and things like that. And that is a very fundamental change, because I remember when we first computerized in India in HSBC in 1986, in the year I joined, there was not a single sentence that anybody talked about as to why this is good for the customer. It was all about how do we do the process, how do you do it internally. In fact, I remember a customer came to us and yelled because he said, I used to have a 4-digit account number that I could remember. Now we have made it a 14-digit account number that I can't remember. And what is the benefit for me? And we were like, oh, that's a new computer, right? We need to keep it in 14 digits. And that's the only way it works. So now that has changed completely, and we are focused entirely on why are we doing this and what enhancement of the value proposition it happens. So we are trying to now look not at digital and data and disruption as a subject, but as a skill that as a mindset that you have in every course. So we are not trying to teach, we are trying to teach every course through that lens. And that is not, the idea is not to just say, let me teach you machine learning, let me teach you data analytics, let me teach you how to manipulate a database. That's not the point. The point is to say, how do you use it? What are the use cases? And as an example, this year, we introduced a course along with an industry partner, industry that is actually run by an ex-IMT alum, called Machine Learning in Banking and Financial Services. And the first half of the course, or the first 1/3 of the course, was taught by IMT faculty teaching technique as to how you do machine learning. But the second part of the course was entirely taught by the industry, saying these are the applications of machine learning in different contexts, in marketing, in fraud detection, in risk management, in in regulatory reporting and so on and so forth. So that is the way we are trying to embed this. And I guess one last point I would make also is we talked about the link between sustainability and digital. And I think this is something that we probably don't think about as much, but a large part of how we are going to achieve our sustainability goals is going to come from digital transformation. Like, so take something as trivial as the ATM machine asking you, do you want a paper statement? Right? And the moment you say no, that's fine. And then they say, do you want to go paperless on your online banking? Can we just send you soft copies? Can we do even something as simple as that? And which saves you a significant carbon footprint. But then think about the number of trips that you make to a bank today, the driving to the bank, the waiting in line, the productivity, the number of staff that need to be there to serve you compared to being able to do online banking, and how much of a green impact it is having. And that is going to be one of the ways we really, really need to think about how do I achieve sustainability? How do I achieve my carbon footprint goals using digital? So quite often we talk about the value proposition in terms of customer convenience and things like that. But even simple things like this, even the value proposition could also be that you're serving a lot more customers using far less resources. And that is the link between sustainability and digital that is probably less discussed than the glamour of the technology. So I just reiterate what I said at the beginning. The digital transformation is about transformation. It's not about digital, right? Digital is just a tool, right? Let's not get seduced by the tool. Let's focus on how to solve business problems, how to do things better, how to make things better for all stakeholders, including and especially the customer.
Thank you, AK. You said very well. In fact, the very idea of embedding digital transformation into courses ensures that students do not see them as two different things. They are actually one thing. Correct. Very well. Before I go to Dr. Sareen for his views on application of digital transformation in businesses, I would like to point out that there are two questions by students. One is a general question, not meant for anyone specifically. The other one is meant specifically for Anand. So I request Dr. Sareen to share his views, and if he wants to comment on one of these questions, he's free to do so. Else being Dean Academics, I think he is the best person to highlight how IMT Ghaziabad as an institution is preparing students in a digitally transformed world. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thanks, Professor Harvinder. So I think we have got very good examples from Professor Rakesh Singh, Professor Anand Krishnamurthy on how we are teaching digital transformation. And at IMT, if you look at across the courses, because see what is happening is now digital transformation is happening across all segments. It's almost like I would say English language, or it's like electricity, that it's not confined to just artificial intelligence or analytics. So across even the non-glamorous part of businesses, the digital transformation is happening. So when we are teaching our courses, whether it's a HR course or operations course or a marketing course or a sales and distribution course, so many of these digital transformation examples are coming as a form of case studies. We as IMT Ghaziabad have access to Harvard Business School case studies. These case studies are integrated into our program, each course. So almost every course is using many of these case studies. And it of course depends on the faculty, how they want to combine along with the industry guest lectures. So many of these case studies are latest, and they are basically talking about the change management part of the digital transformation, or even from the angle of, say, that particular course. Like, for example, if it's a HRM course, so how people are changing, how their role is changing. For example, nowadays, work from home technology is there. But is it again just a simple application of Zoom? Or is it that how I completely rebuild my organization on how my team collaborates? That will result in change in my office timings, change in my, how do I measure the performance of my team, or how do I make sure they communicate and collaborate? What is the compensation structure? So all those things will also change, So it is not just again a technology enabler which is enabling that. The same kind of things are happening in the operations, in the sales and distribution, like as Professor Rakesh was saying, the application of CRM, and how many of these organizations are using CRM to build their sales pipeline. So that, if you look at IIT Ghaziabad, we are sort of using many of these case studies to give you the latest of what's happening in the business. In addition, in our courses, we have a combination of online, offline kind of things. We have tools, we have Microsoft Teams integrated so that you can have attendance on Teams, and other course distribution material is shared. So many of these digital tools are available for inviting lectures online or offline. So we use a very judicious mix of online, offline combinations. Sometimes some very good industry speakers are there. Someone is in Mumbai, someone is in New York. Those can come online and give, but those classes are integrated with the physical classes. And our IT and backup systems, support systems are there to help you. Similarly, we have a simulation software, like, so that, in fact, the entire batch goes through the cross-functional simulation exercises, and you have to do that. So those are, again, the digital parts. In addition, we have a lot of databases which are there accessible. For example, Bloomberg data is there. Library has a lot of huge range of both general magazines, like general business magazines, which include almost across the globe. And we also give access to Financial Times. And in addition, the ft.com, you get access to that. And in addition, you get access to a lot of research databases also. So those are many of the digital access which we are providing to the students. So it's a very nice mix of offline, online combination, which sort of makes it, stimulates everyone to use it in a very effective manner. So that is how we are going across the digital part here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sareen. Thank you very much, sir. So in the end, we have about 4 questions, I believe. Maybe we can pick up quickly, have a look at these. First question is, what are some of the biggest roadblocks that mid-sized businesses face along the digital journey? So anyone who wants to respond to this?
Yeah, I can take this.
Sure, Dr. Singh. Please go ahead.
One of the challenge in getting onto a digital journey is to define the goals. That why you are actually going there. What happens in many of companies? I don't know. I won't call it by size, whether it's a mid-size or large size, because I think any size could be prone to that problem. Getting that problem is not a good clarity onto why you are investing in digital assets, how you are going to apply this into your business processes, and what is the expected outcome. Now, just to give you an example, say for instance, a mid-sized firm decides that, at a very beginning basic level of implementing CRM. Now, when you are doing CRM, what exactly do you want? So do you want more lead generation? Now, if you are using CRM to get more leads, and imagine you do not have a backup sales team to actually work with those leads, obviously the disappointment will be huge, because you would think that your leads are going waste. But that is not the problem of the CRM system. The problem is that your organization structure is not supporting the CRM implementation, right? So what I'm basically saying is that it's about stating the expectations clearly, that what exactly, and then you support that expectations with the right kind of organizational size and structure. That's very important. Many companies, they have problems around that. The second problem is when people start thinking digital technology as a magic wand. There is nothing called a magic wand, like, oh, we bring this AI tool, and therefore my customer churn rate will come down. No, it will not. You will know about your customer churn rate real time, but why your customers are moving, it has to do with your value proposition.
Very true.
Right. So if you are not looking at the value proposition and then you are blaming the technology for that could be a problem. So I think a better view on the objective, the application, and what do you expect from it. You measure that with all the support that you need to give, possibly can help organizations overcome these obstacles.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. The next question is how we can use digital technologies to better measure and understand sustainability impacts and to track progress towards sustainability goals.
Yeah, let me take a stab at that. I mean, I think
sure.
A lot of this is less about technology, but more about psychology. So one of the things that we realized is that the traditional organizational approach to measuring any metric. I mean, so if you are an organization and like say, let me use SBC as an example, as a large global organization, and we have a net zero commitment. Right now, typically, whenever an organization has a big strategic goal, they create a whole industry about measuring progress towards that goal. Every country, every business, every individual is, and then they do monthly reports, quarterly reports, and things like that. Now, apart from that itself being a non-green process, what happens is you don't really have any visibility and any frequency at which you see these numbers, right? Now, as opposed to in a digital world, in a digitally transformed world, what you would have is a live score of every single thing that you're doing. I mean, you're planning an offsite, you're planning travel. What is the carbon impact of that? I mean, you're drinking coffee in a non-reusable cup. I mean, you're using a paper straw. What is the consumption? How much color copying are you doing? Every single thing automatically feeds into a dashboard, which you can see all the time. And then imagine what transformation it does in terms of your behavior. And the easiest way I can give you this is a very simple personal example. If you're a diabetic, you go see a doctor once every 10 weeks or so, and he measures your average blood sugar level for those 10 weeks. Right? So that means for 9.5 weeks, you don't actually worry about it. And then the last 3 days, you're scrambling to make sure your blood sugar isn't looking too bad. As opposed to that, digital technology allows you to wear a device which you can measure on an app all through the day. And it keeps telling you and it keeps pinging you and your glucose is going up and it's going down. And you see that 14, 15, 16, it's like having a policeman sitting on your shoulder. It's the same metric. You're not measuring anything new, but think about how much it changes your behavior to have that data available to you right in front of you very frequently and to every single person in the organization without actually creating an industry to do it. So that is how you need to think about, not the technology won't actually do any change. It is the psychology that the technology is triggering that will actually make the change.
Correct. Very true. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add to Professor Anand's point. Very well said. It's about the intent, what exactly you want to do. However, we also agree that technology is an enabler. That example of that sugar measuring machine or that chip that people use. Recent advances in this field that's what I thought I should mention, that there are companies who are working towards enabling organizations do exactly that. That how do they measure, say, for example, their carbon footprint on a real-time basis? So interestingly, and you'll be happy to know, one of our alum only, Jagmohan, he has got into a startup, which is a AI tech company. And their key value proposition is basically in a business-to-business context here, that it helps firms measure their carbon footprint on a real-time basis. That is what they are developing on. So in that sense, I would say there is a lot of action So a lot of firms, they are startups, they are looking at providing this kind of technology to organizations, so that they can monitor their especially environmental goals very clearly. Yeah.
Very well said.
I'd like to just add, Professor Harvinder, is it okay?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah. So I'd like to just add, see, the artificial intelligence and other digital technologies are very, very glamorous. And sometimes you are getting into that, glamour, like whether it's a crypto, whether it's a chat GPT, whether it's a blockchain. Many of these have actual uses, but many times they are becoming so glamorous that people are adopting it. And, it will all matter on the context. For example, if you look at, say, Netflix, or if you look at, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So if you look at, say, Netflix, or if you look at, say, Spotify, and then the artificial intelligence behind it is suggesting you some movies or some songs, which is very good. You may like it, you may reject it. So a lot of times AI tools are really helpful, but blind faith on an AI tool is dangerous. Yeah, if you look at, I'll tell you, 10 years back, if you had looked at the news, you would have thought that whether Google or whether so many other companies over which were working on self-driving cars will suddenly launch them. The fact is that they could not launch because artificial intelligence technologies couldn't work on the control systems part, correct? And so that you cannot have a complete faith on that, And the way you make decisions is sometimes a combination of analysis and intuition. So in some cases, pure analysis is okay, like suggesting a song or a Netflix or some other thing. But if I'm piloting a commercial airliner, I cannot entirely do it based on artificial intelligence. Or if I'm doing a heart surgery, I cannot, because there are many gray areas where the doctor has to decide based on their intuition, not just on data. And many of these tools require a human element, and that's why it's very, very critical to sort of appreciate all the technologies, but also look at the way the human element has a value into that, and that actually brings a lot of value to you students who will be future managers, because those are the skills which you need to develop, how to use these tools, how to interpret them, but at the same time, how to have your own level of intuition to judge what the data is suggesting, So that is a one component one should be sort of, aware of.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Sareen. AK, you have a question specifically for you with your name, saying, does the insurance sector have a good future?
Yes, in the interest of
I
time,
believe answer would be more than yes or no.
Yeah. No, I mean, in the interest of time, I would just say yes. But I certainly say yes in India, but in particular, simply given the level of underinsurance there is, and not just, especially in the life insurance sector. And we are seeing that. I mean, we are seeing competitors, we're seeing foreign players come in. The people don't plan enough, don't understand enough about the general concepts of pensions, insurance, etc., and therefore risk management will become better. So yes, the sector does have a great future. Yeah.
Okay. And the last question, I think I should take it as the admissions guy. So the question is, sir, as an MTech student, what can be benefit of an MBA? So if MBA is useful for a BTech, it should be equally good or more better for an MTech also. I mean, as an MTech, you are better qualified. You have got better technical knowledge. Maybe you have got better product knowledge in case of certain sectors and industries. But the key thing is you should be a good MTech student and you should be a good MBA student. Fine. Qualifications alone, labels alone do not ensure success in career. Fine. So I think with this, we have no more questions. With this, I thank the panelists, Dr. Sareen, Professor Krishnamurthy, Dr. Singh. It was really nice of you to spare time from your busy schedule and contribute your valuable thoughts. I also thank the IMT organizing team who organized this session. And above all, I thank all the audience who are with us and who are a part of this deliberation, and I'm sure their understanding of digital transformation of business has improved significantly after this. With this, we close this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Arvind.
Thank you.